We'll call the meeting to order. Start with roll call. Morgan Brown.
Here.
Dave Walbrenner.
Here.
Becky Engel.
Here.
Brian Jones.
Here.
Dusty Ware.
Here.
Jan Weichert.
Here.
And Christina Shark is here. Next up is adoption of agenda and declaration of a quorum.
Motion to adopt.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any other discussion? All those in favor, raise your right hand. Motion passes. Next is citizen speak. I do not have any green cards. Next is consent agenda.
Motion to adopt.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any other discussion? Not. All those in favor, raise your right hand. Motion passes. Next is an informational item. Board priority, we will promote and monitor growth in student achievement, and all students will be challenged with high expectations that meet or exceed measurable targets. We have a student data end of the year informational update with Maria.
Hi, everybody. Are we officially in the school year now? Our teachers come back tomorrow for Teacher Quality Days. And before we go into this presentation, I just want to say, I get the honor of presenting this data to you. This is a culmination of work over several years with lots of different teams and lots of different people. I just get lucky enough to be the one to come up here and share it with you. So we have a lot of data that we're going to look at tonight, ranging from academics to behavior, absenteeism and graduation rates, as well as culture and climate data. And so we're going to hit some really key points of the data that we've seen over time, and then just really celebrate the growth we've made and talk about our direction moving forward. We've seen this before. Just a reminder for our community and for our audience that we have significantly reduced the building populations of every one of our secondary buildings across the school district over the last couple of years with our grade level reconfiguration, the opening of Gateway, and the new construction of Farney. And so moving from one of the largest middle schools in the state, from Evans, which would have over 1,000 students, or OHS over 1,200 students, to those smaller, more personalized learning environments. I think it never hurts to remind people that that is a catalyst for a lot of the data that you'll see tonight. So you'll see each slide that we present has some overall, just overarching systemic data across the district and some specific building highlights. And so just academically, first and foremost, that's why we exist, is to ensure academic achievement for every child. Since 2018, we've had the highest kindergarten, first, second proficiency and literacy since the data that I can pull across the district. When you look at specific buildings like kindergarten at Pickwick, we saw over 30% growth from their fall to spring literacy data. Our Fs at the secondary level decreased by 30%, 8th through 12th grade. Really exciting with the grade level reconfiguration for the first time last year. We have kids earning over 2,000 credits at Gateway, 400 more than the last school year. And then one of the areas that I get really excited about is the different content and grade level areas across our standardized test, ISASP, which is taken all across the state. So that might be third grade math, third grade reading, fifth grade science. In 23-24, we had 42% of all those grade levels and contents showing increased proficiency, whereas in 24-25, that rose to 70%. So grade level and content area across 3rd through 11th grade. And just some fun stuff. I didn't actually know this one about Horace Mann. It was really exciting to learn. I was on a call with our Amplify CKLA rep, and he goes, "Did you know that every classroom at Horace Mann increased or met the national norm for growth or better?" So every single classroom in that building hit the norm for growth, the national norm, or higher, which is unheard of. He made a whole slide about it. He was that excited. Our 9th grade data I wanted to highlight because we knew shifting 9th grade to Evans and creating that smaller learning environment for our 9th graders was going to be very impactful for their long-term academic achievement, and their literacy and math both grew in their ISAS data, literacy by 14% and math by 7%. And so we are just seeing wins all over the place academically, whether we're looking at grades, whether we're looking at state tests, whether we're looking at our screeners, different content areas. And so we're just really, really proud of this academic growth that we've seen over the last several years. I think even more impressive is when you look at these percentages for behaviors is what we're seeing across all of our buildings. When you look at the typical classroom disruption behaviors, whether that's kids blurting out or maybe trying to leave class when they're not supposed to, we're down 42% as a school district, so preschool through 12th grade. And then when you look at aggressive behaviors, things like fights, or just your bigger like drugs, weapons, things like that, we're down 50%. With that, we decreased out-of-school suspensions, so kids having to be out of school as a consequence of their behavior was down 73%. And even bigger, and something we focused a lot on as a school district, is reducing bullying and harassment. We had 0 founded cases of bullying and harassment in the 24-25 school year, and 50% decrease from the 23-24 school year of cases even reported. So we're down half as much with 0 being founded, which is, I think, just another example of what creating an environment where every kid is seen. You're going from over 1,000 kids to 700 kids means for how kids connect and interact with one another, and how that adult support and supervision can be done better. These numbers look kind of funny on the building highlights side. Mr. McGrory asked me how I get to a percentage over 100%, but that's really when you do a percent decrease of behavior referrals, and these are just a couple examples at our elementaries and one at Evans, of when the amount of referral decrease is so dramatic that you get to over 100%. So like if we had 200 and we're down to 20 something, that would give you over 100% increase in a percent decrease. And so just really those numbers, as big as they look, are really to show that our behaviors across our entire school system are down. And again, that comes from our special programs, like making sure every kid has what they need, going to maybe the therapeutic classroom or SALT. We're expanding those special programs this year, but we've added junior kindergarten. We have created mental health spaces and brain health retreat rooms in our buildings. And again, all of those different things contribute to the decreases in behaviors that we see across the district. Attendance is up as well. My favorite number there is the 94% of kids attend school every single day. So there's not a day in our district where our average isn't around that 94%. So that means that almost all of our kids are coming to school almost every single day. You see some of the different building attendance rates there. Also, chronic absenteeism, so students who are missing 10, 15, 20 days of school has decreased nearly 5% from this school year to last school year. It's a beautiful thing, meaning that our kids are in school more often, more frequently, so they're able to, access their learning. And then we see that again as that academic data had come in earlier. This is super fun. So in the 2022 year, we had a 76.8% graduation rate when we had combined all of our high school students together. Again, we opened Gateway, and we have our projected graduation rates for this last school year, 24-25. And I just had to do them both together, even though I was really excited to show them one by one. Ottumwa High School's graduation rate is projected to be at 96% for this last school year. You guys know from the last time we talked graduation rates a couple months ago, we don't get that formal data in until way late. But also very exciting is that Gateway's projected graduation rate is at 90% for this last school year. So to think as a combined entity of our high schools before Gateway was opened, we were at 76.8%. And over the last 3 school years, that has gone up 20% at OHS and close to 20% at Gateway. And for an alternative high school to be at 90% is almost unheard of. And it's just things that we are so incredibly proud of. And again, work that we've done as a district with your leadership as a board that we couldn't have done without our team. I love this too. So I'm not sure if you know this, but we also measure culture and climate within our organization with our staff. So our non-certified staffs, our associates, nurses have one survey, our teachers have another survey, and we've been using these surveys since fall of 2023. That's when we adopted this, because knowing how our staff feels about our culture and climate of our buildings is incredibly important to us. And when you look at every single category for both non-certified and certified staff, we've increased across the last 2.5 years of doing this survey, with really giant increases in school climate, 9% for non-certified staff, 12% for certified staff. Teacher efficacy, I think sometimes we hear a voice or two that says, I feel like I have no control in my classroom, I don't get to do what I want, the curriculum says I have to do this. But overwhelmingly, our teachers are saying that they feel empowered to do what they want. That's what that efficacy is. So it's really cool to see in both our non-certified and certified staff that we've made gains in literally every single area that we gather feedback in. There's a lot of data that went really fast, but really what I hope you see through all of that data is that we are really working to set the stage for what comes next in the Ottumwa Community Schools. We are ready to truly excel in our academic achievement. We know that has to be our next milestone if we really truly want to be the best. We've made a lot of progress, but we know what we're capable of, and we're excited to make that our work for this 25-26 school year. What questions do you have? All right. Have a great night, guys.
Thanks, Maria.
Thanks, Maria.
Next up is a few action items. The first one, board priority: to be the best, we will create a positive learning and working culture for our stakeholders and embrace our community partnerships through communication and transparency. The first action item here is a baseball and softball complex presentation with Mike and Brandon.
Good evening, and we appreciate Phil, the city manager, joining us today too for this presentation. We're excited about the potential of this proposal. Brandon's going to kind of go through with the board an overview of the proposal, what it potentially could look like. One of the things I would probably, I don't know if it's caution the board, but recommend to the board is to realize that there's so many different ways you could move forward with this project. So there's a lot of different options. We kind of envision a committee looking at this and coming up with what the best option is. So what we're probably presenting tonight is maybe just a broad overview of what potentially the land that we would be purchasing from the city. So I'll turn it over to Brandon.
Yeah, thank you. Sorry, that's really loud. All right, as Mr. McGroy said, this is the site that we're looking at, and we held back on trying to project too much of our own thoughts and ideas into this because, like he said, we truly want this to be a group decision, and we want to make sure we have the right stakeholders at the table to, make sure that we do this the right way. I think we have an incredible opportunity here. But this is what it looks like present day, sort of. For the most part, not a whole lot has changed. The field directions are kind of like they are. So we envisioned additional parking. So the red outline is kind of what we would be considering asking for. The one thing that we do want to make, like the trail's not included in that proposal. But everything else that's kind of outlined here is what we would be considering for this project. So we came to you a couple weeks ago and just gave a lot of this same data, and this is just kind of the reason why we feel like this is an important project. Again, Babe Ruth, the Youth Softball League have been really outstanding partners in helping us get our middle school programs off the ground, and that's a big driving force to this. And we think that there's definitely going to be a way that we can, create great spaces for those programs as well as, make our high school atmosphere, feel a lot better too. We think that will kind of lead into increased participation. One of the things that we've kind of talked through in this is having these fields, in a really central part of the community is going to catch a lot of eyes. And so that's exciting for us just as far as community members driving by and seeing it. But I think one of the biggest benefits is just our youth programming that happens in the park. And now they're going to, look across the parking lot and see, the facilities that our high school kids have and our middle school kids have. And hopefully, as they go through those youth programs, really aspire to participate in some of the high school programming when they get to that point. So we really think that's kind of an added positive to this. And I won't go through all of these one by one, but we had pretty good participation. We're running 3 levels of baseball, 3 levels of softball, plus middle school programs, and so we definitely have a need for, an increased field options. So this just kind of goes through a potential of what the agreement could be, and this is, some of the ideas we've had. A lot of this would be fully developed by our committee, but really what we're looking at is we would continue to maintain Houston Field in its current site, and that would just become a middle school field. We think it's got some really great things there, some things that we've upgraded the last couple of years, the playing surface and batting cages. It'll need a few things here and there just to kind of keep it going like any general maintenance you would have to do to any facility. But we think that's going to be, one of the nicest middle school fields around for sure. And a place that they can access all the time and they can store their equipment there and, all the things that you really don't think about when, people are running a program. There's a lot of nuances to it that just having our own home is important. What we would want to do is potentially move the high school field then to the Legion site, to the park site. And again, we kind of leave that open-ended as far as what exactly that's going to look like and what it means and all the other facilities that go into that. But really what we envision is an opportunity to share facilities, concessions and a press box and restrooms and all those things that come with it, to be able to create an atmosphere that's really for high school and baseball together. We have families that have kids that play baseball and softball, and when we play at the same time, a lot of our conference scheduling right now is we schedule home games against the same school at the same time, and so they're split up, and you got to kind of pick which game you're going to, and we envision in a setup like this, people could attend both games and be able to see everything that they want to. So that's definitely a huge benefit. So kind of how we're going to do this, as we've kind of said, we really want a committee that's going to help make these decisions. And so this is just kind of some people that we, have already kind of talked to that we think makes sense to be a part of that. The Babe Ruth and Legion, obviously, they use these facilities now, and so we want to make sure that they, feel like they have input in what we're trying to do, and they've been in the loop. Obviously, our high school programs, board members, other coaches. I feel like our coaches have a really good understanding of facilities and what, thinking outside the box on what you would need, and so it'd be important to have some of them on there, and then obviously administrative staff. One of the key pieces that we think makes a lot of sense, and we'll go through and fully vet it all, but we really think turf makes a lot of sense, just from a maintenance standpoint, a field preparation standpoint, rainouts and all of those things, and it's something our community doesn't have right now, and so we really think there's a lot of value in being able to make the baseball and the high school field at least turf. And then I think one of the biggest things that's probably underrated a little bit is parking. Everybody loves parking. So I think in that area, not just for our games, but also for like youth softball and other things that are happening in the park, some upgraded parking is going to be really great.
So on the funding side, what we're looking at is a combination of different things. Looking at fundraising, also using district funds. We perceive this to be a phased project where it'd be done over time. But we're excited that we've already had some interest in the fundraising part component, and we're excited about that. I think there will be support for this type of project. So that's kind of our vision for funding this complex. I think the one thing that when we look at this, that the land that the city is amenable to giving us would allow us to address a lot of the issues we currently have at the baseball field. And one that Brandon mentioned was parking. We know we would need to fix parking. Parking's a problem right now. So we're excited about this project. We really, what we're asking the board tonight is to give us your feedback on how you would like us to move forward with this. Phil presented to his council on the 5th, and they were very supportive of the concept. And Phil, I don't know if you want to add anything to that, or?
Yeah, I guess I'd just say that I came here to help support the partnership that this could present, similar to the tennis court project that was able to provide state-of-the-art tennis courts for not only the high school, middle school athletes, but the community in general. And it was a way that kind of to help double up our efforts. We share majority of the same tax base, and so rather than us building something and the school district building something, it's really a way to join in and work together. It fits within the overall park plan for that area and is consistent with that. At the same meeting, the tennis courts, which were a part of that drawing there, were approved to be removed as a winter project, and I believe that is an area that was identified as future parking under this plan, and would help out not just with that field, but the I think it's softball fields that are over there as well. And I received at least one, if not two, complaints earlier this year about parking issues there. So it's a way to help alleviate some of that and really continue to enhance the great partnership that we've had working with the district.
And Phil, would it be fair to say part of maybe why this became more available is that your plan changed a little bit, going down to 12 fields, so this instead of I think 16 at one time?
Yeah, the field, the initial configuration was for 17 fields, and whether that, I think there's a realization that we don't necessarily need the 17 fields there. That was kind of taking all of the fields across the city and looking at what we had as a total and then trying to put them in that footprint. But I think with coordinated efforts, the number could be reduced as far as what we need overall. So yeah, I think that is part of it.
Okay. Thanks. I think with that, anything else, Brandon? I think we'll open it up for questions or thoughts from the board.
Phil, what is the timeline for the rest, doing like the rest of the park project for the fields that, I know that's been something that's kind of been going on for a while, so I didn't know what their timeline is, if it's something that's, somebody's gonna step in and help pay for, if it's just gonna be funded by the city, or how that's gonna work as far as getting to that number that you wanna get to.
Yeah, it is something that is a phased approach that we're looking at. One of the areas where we're looking at building the ball fields is that pond that was being filled in. That's going to take time to settle once it's all complete. And So it's not something we're looking at immediately. So to that point, this is a project that we could get some of the fields completed right away or much sooner than what would be on our timeline. We spent time looking at the tennis courts that we talked about, the soccer fields that are be across the street there. Baseball, there hasn't been fundraising started for that specifically. We've been focusing on getting the area prepped up. So this would be a great jump start for that, and I think could help with any potential fundraising efforts.
Thanks.
I think one question for the board is would anybody have reservations about moving forward with the project? And then also, if not, are there individuals that maybe are interested in serving on the committee?
Well, I guess I'd be interested in serving on the committee. I also have, I guess and that would, be a big part of it too, is, what the potential cost of, doing this project and having whatever the end product is going to look like, to see what that's going to cost. I mean, I think it would be a great idea to have everything there. I also, we have a lot of buildings across the district, and depending on what the dollar amount that this is going to cost, do we have everything else possibly done in all of our buildings?
Right.
This is a really nice to have, but I want to make sure that, obviously being fiscally responsible on it too. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, I would definitely.
Great.
be part of the
Dave,
committee.
we'll put you down on the committee. Anybody else?
Yeah, Mike, I would be willing to do something like this.
Great.
I'm not 100% sure the action item for tonight, because we talked about this about a month ago, and I think this is a great project. To Dave's point, I feel like we've touched almost all of our buildings and all of our facilities. This is an area of town that the city hasn't touched for quite some time and isn't up to par with the rest of the school district facilities. And so by the city allowing the district to buy this, it would give us an opportunity to bring those up to the school district standards, which would help the school district and all of our sports funding in this sports area. I feel like it's one piece of school district stuff we haven't touched yet, so it's baseball and softball's turn, so I think it's a great idea.
Okay. Thanks, Christina. And really what we're asking the board to take action on tonight is just the concept of it. Not so much, like Dave, you're talking about we know there's a lot of details to work out.
I don't want to be negative,
Okay, go for it.
but I do. So our middle school program is relatively new, correct? And we've been using the current Babe Ruth fields.
Yeah, this is year 2 for baseball and softball. So baseball used the current Babe Ruth fields, and softball used the youth softball fields, which are those 3 fields on the top that are pictured there.
So I guess my biggest question is, what do we not have now that we would have if we did this? I don't really see.
Yeah, I think
Like,
one of the
stopping us from putting turf on Legion Field right now.
Yeah, and Legion will kind of stay like it is. It'll just become turf. There's not going to be a whole lot of changes to that field itself. I think that there's a lot of value in having our high school complex together. From the spectator standpoint, like I mentioned, but also in a shared resources and shared facility standpoint. We're just going to be able to, rather than upgrading, a press box at Legion and then having to go back. I mean, the press box at both fields really needs some attention. And so rather than upgrading 2 different facilities with the same product, we find this as a way that we can, kind of pool our resources into one complex to be able to do a little more with the funds.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I'm not saying don't investigate it. I think we can investigate it, but I know we've put a lot of money into Legion Field over the last 2 years. It's looking pretty nice. I don't know what these other 2 fields has to do with us making Legion nicer, other than I understand maybe moving the softball complex.
And I think,
together.
Morgan, it's hard, if you don't, if you're not there watching games or having players, it does look nice when you drive down the highway. Legion Field looks beautiful, but it's not the caliber kind of field that a district our size deserves or should have. And I would say the advantage that we get from acquiring the 2 Babe Ruth fields is just a high-quality field for our middle school program. Neither of those fields are up to par by any stretch. And so it would I just feel like it would help elevate all of our programming to the same level we've elevated our high school, Farney. It speaks to the whole mission that the district is working for, to have high-quality things all the way
And
around. Not that now.
And I think one thing too, Morgan, that we looked at was, I agree, I like our baseball field a great deal. I think it's really nice, but for us to actually get it to the level it needed to be, which would require a lot of work. We estimate probably, $300,000 to $400,000 we would have to put in the field if we didn't do a turf field. We would have to put into that field for drainage. We need to put an irrigation system in if we don't put in turf. It's really silly what we're doing now, where we're watering the outfield and it's taking half a day, and so there would be a lot of upgrades we'd have to do, and we kind of weighed that against turf. I think the other thing with turf is that's the future for a lot of these sports. So in baseball, I think there's 6 schools in the CIML that are putting in turf this year. And part of the reason is just to be competitive with other schools, because that's what the game's going to become. It's kind of similar in my mind to like soccer, what soccer's become now, where everybody's playing on turf now with soccer. I think baseball's really close to that right now. I think softball's a little bit further off, but I think it's down the road. And that's why we want to kind of look at how do we prepare our fields to be ready for that next, because I think it's coming.
So the softball fields here, would that be turf also?
Yeah, that's what we're looking at, Morgan, yeah.
Okay.
That's definitely the trend in softball too.
I think one of the biggest points here, I think, Morgan, if what we're trying to get to is, most of this stuff, we don't have anything that we call our own for middle school. And I think that would be the point that we would kind of trying to get to is, we're using, for middle school softball, we're using somebody else's fields, right? And not that they would say no, but they kind of have the control over whatever we do. And somewhat same way with the baseball or the Babe Ruth fields, that, obviously if they said no, which I don't think they would, then we wouldn't have so this is just a way to I guess, to get it to call us our own. What we do from there with it is, obviously financial, but at least it gets us our own stuff, basically, I think.
I was going to say, when this was first presented to me, I kind of had a similar question is, well, what are you doing now? You're already using Houston Field for softball. But one of the things that was explained to me, which made a lot of sense, was now you're looking at 2 different sites that you have to maintain. And you're talking about, like with this, if you have multiple games going on at one point, you only need to manage 1 concession stand, a set of restrooms. If you have any kind of equipment for field maintenance, it's all there on one site. And so it made a lot of sense as far as trying to be able to work together to accomplish a common goal there. So I think that was beneficial.
But we're keeping Houston Field though,
Yeah.
so we still have 2.
Yeah, we'll keep that as the middle school field.
Okay.
And we talked about, even Morgan, like on something like that, when they have their big tournament, yearly tournament, they could have it on Houston Field too. I think that'd be a nice option too. So
Okay.
one of the things with Houston Field is right now is, it has 1 bathroom. It's limited in some ways, and this would address a lot of their issues too.
Which one of these is it? Page slide 9 shows a future rendering, and then slide 12 shows a potential layout. Are those just different options?
Yeah, and that, I think you guys probably got the whole presentation. That
Yeah.
Some of those were hidden on just for this purpose, but those were just some options that we had received and some of the things that we talked about. Again, we didn't want to really put too much out there as far as like what our vision is, because we really think it's important for the right stakeholders to come and make that decision. But I guess to answer your question, we've just talked about the orientation of the fields, it being different than what's depicted here is essentially the way that it looks right now. But we think there's a lot of options on the direction that all of these fields could be and what makes the most sense there. But we really want to get some good input on that. And, the way the sun sets and all these other things are a factor in that, and that's just stuff that we don't know quite yet. And so we didn't want to put too much out there as what a future possibility could be, but
Yeah, that slide 9 there looks like that might be a PA nightmare if you got multiple games going on at the same time.
right.
But yeah, looks cool.
Okay, so I think the action item is to keep moving forward. If I understand that right?
Brandon, do you have any other districts that have done something like this, that shoot from the hip number? I mean, are we talking 15 million or?
No, I don't think it's anything like that. I'd be really careful on saying a number just because there's so many nuances that go into a project like this. I mean, you get an architect involved, and you know, the underworkings of what's there. We have no idea.
Yeah.
You know, there's just a lot of variables that go into what that number could be, and so I don't know, I probably wouldn't want to say a number, but it definitely won't be anything like that.
But I think you're asking too, Dusty, is there a lot of other districts that have done this? And there are quite a few that are doing this, yeah.
We talked to one turf company that we've used before, and they've done some stuff in the community as well, and they're pretty reputable. And just about like scheduling and what does that even look like? And it's like they're booked this entire fall, doing like 6 fields in the Des Moines metro area, and so I think there's a lot of schools that are doing it. So that's one of the things that we would probably do to have for the committee. I know Valley's doing baseball and softball right now, and so they're a school that we'd probably reach out to say, hey, can you just give us an idea of what it took to do yours, and have that for the committee to review and just kind of get an idea.
Well, I'd make a motion to continuing exploring the idea of this.
Second. Sorry, Jay.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Is there any other discussion or questions? If not, all those in favor, raise your right hand. Motion passes. Thank you very much.
Just for the board's edification, I guess, is that our next step then will be to start working on a contract with the city to purchase the land, and then we'll come back to the board. And that'll probably coincide, obviously, with the plan. We wouldn't move forward with it unless the committee comes up with a plan that's viable and that's something you guys support. So just so you know, that's next step.
Thank you, Mike. Okay, next is the Pickwick Early Childhood Center Handbook. With Brad, maybe?
Yeah, this is just an annual update that Pickwick provided. Not a lot of changes from last year, just an annual update that they provide to their parents, and then that'll go on the website.
Motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any other discussion? Brad, why is this the only handbook that's in these other languages? Or is it?
What's that now?
Is
Say that
this
again.
the only handbook that's in these other languages like this?
They all interface with our new Parent Square with the app as well. So when we send out information, we can send it out over Parent Square as well, and it has lots of language options. The other ones were student handbooks that we approved last month. This is really the only really robust parent handbook that we have, just because there's so much new to parents sending their kids to school for the first time.
Any other questions or comments? If not, all those in favor, raise your right hand. Motion passes. Next is the Seton Preschool Partnership with John.
And I'll just give you information about the next couple items there so you have it. The Seton Preschool Partnership, we've always done this with our PK. We used to have Indian Hills also, but they ended their program. So this is just renewing and continuing that preschool partnership. I believe there's anywhere between 10 and 15 PK students that go over to Seton there. And then the next 2 items are the board policies. It's the 500 series review. We did the first reading last board meeting. 503.09, that is the cell phone policy. This is the second and final reading. We didn't make any changes from last time. And then we added one more on there. Item F is board policy 102 E3. And this is a policy that goes over some of the equal education opportunity, the 504 disability stuff, and it had listed on there Dave Harper, and obviously since he left the district, we changed it to update it to Maria Lance's position, and that was the only change on that. We didn't change any of the policy information, so that is those four, and yeah, happy to answer any questions.
Okay, we'll take a motion first for item C, then can we do the policies together?
Make a motion for item C.
Second.
Is there any other discussion or questions about the Seton Catholic Preschool Partnership Agreement? If not, all those in favor, raise your right hand. And then, if it's a mix of second, final, and first readings, can we do D, E, and F together? Okay.
I'll make a motion to approve items D, E, and F.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any other questions about policies? If not, all those in favor, raise your right hand. Okay, next up, board priority. Through the board's financial stewardship, we will provide operations, technical, and curricular resources to staff, teachers, and administrators so all students have consistent and sustained achievement. We have 2 action items here. The first one is guardrails. Don.
As part of the ongoing site improvements above the tennis courts and the development of additional parking along 4th Street, the district recommends the installation of guardrails to enhance the safety and site definitions in these areas. I would recommend to award the guardrail installation project to Gullet Fence in the amount of $29,545.
Motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any other questions about guardrails? If not, all those in favor, raise your right hand. Motion passes. Next is Fieldhouse Concrete.
As part of the district's ongoing improvements at Schaefer Stadium, the addition of a concrete viewing area at the field house has been identified as a priority enhancement to improve accessibility and spectator experience. Recommendation to approve awarding the field house viewing area project to Glosser Construction in the amount of $18,750.
Motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any other discussion or questions? If not, all those in favor, raise your right hand. Motion passes. Next is Superintendent Report. Thanks, Don.
Thanks, Christina. Kind of along the lines of what Don was talking about, I'd like to plant a seed in the board's mind if they would like to have the next board meeting up at the field house. It would give you a chance to see the new entryway there. It'd be lit up. Also some things we're doing up there. Before that, we could also go on a tour where you could see Eisenhower. That project would be finished at our next board meeting, and then also James, which is a really exciting project for us too. So interest level in doing something like that?
Yeah, I'd be interested in that.
Okay,
Sounds good.
okay. We'll just plan on that. Thank you. The first thing I have is I wanted to update the board. Not that there would ever be misinformation about class sizes. I don't think that ever happens. But I wanted to go over class sizes and see if the board has any questions. I hope I gave enough there. Is there 4?
One more.
Are you one
We can
short?
share.
Oh, sorry about that. So, there is an extra, great. Sorry about that. So I'll go through this fairly quickly, but we really try to be very diligent about keeping class sizes at, again, K through second at 20. One of the changes that we made with 3 and 4-year-olds is that we're going to keep those class sizes 16 or lower. They were this past year about 20 per class. And I think that's going to be a really good change. And then with once we get to 3rd through 5th grade, then our cap goes up to 24. So when I go through this, when you see the red, that would be grade levels where we've capped their numbers. So we would not allow a student to enter that grade level if it's in the red, because we're at cap. So then the question, I think a really fair question is how does that work? If what we do then is we then work with the parents to offer them other school options, and then if there is a situation where they need transportation, we would also provide that. So if they needed transportation, we'd provide that as well. We don't run into that a lot, but we also try to be very diligent about keeping everything at 24 or under at 3 through 5, like you can see Farney. We know that won't go higher than that because they're all capped. So as you go through this, one of the things I look for too is you're always comparing your kindergarten class sizes to your outgoing graduating class. And our outgoing graduating class was really, really large this past year. But I'm really pleased so far with the numbers we're seeing at the kindergarten level as well. They're good numbers. We also have, with our junior kindergarten, we cap our junior kindergarten at 16. One thing that we looked at there to accommodate more of our kindergarten kids at Pickwick, we decided to add an additional section of kindergarten at Pickwick so we could get more of our kids that were on the south side could stay on the south side. So we added an additional section of kindergarten, and in order to have the space to do that, we moved one of the junior kindergarten classes to Wilson. And Wilson had an open classroom. And so that, and what actually works out pretty well is in that junior kindergarten class, there's probably 5 to 6 kids of those 10 that are Wilson kids, so they'll be there the following year as well. So I wanted to get this in front of the board to see, I think we're sitting pretty good as far as when you look at first and second grade, pre-K through 3, pre-K through 4, our kindergarten numbers, I think all look pretty good. We do have, you can see there are some that, definitely we're close to the cap. And we try, to do whatever we can to keep it under that cap. And I think overall we do a really good job with that. So I'd just open it up for any questions the board might have.
So what happens if a parent says, no, I don't want to, I'm in the Eisenhower district and it's full, but I don't want to go to another school? Does that
Sure.
happen? I mean, some people buy their homes
Right.
for that school,
Right.
school.
Yeah.
So what happens then?
No, I think it's a good question. I think this time of year, I think parents are more understanding. If you're registering this time of year, you may not get the school that you want. I think that becomes a much bigger issue when you're talking about like March, April, but this time of year, I think people overall we find are very understanding that if you're full. I always give the example of when I was the principal in Ames, and we had 4 young kids, and Ames was really struggling with space at their elementary schools, and so they called me and they said, Mike, your kids are going to be at 4 different elementary schools, and I said, okay, and then I called my wife, and she said, fix that. And I said, well, politically, I can't fix that, So I think overall, we do a great job trying to accommodate. One thing we would offer that parent is transportation if that became an issue. But we don't run into a lot where if you're asking like they go to another district, we rarely run into that, or they'll say, hey, I'm going to go to another district.
Mike, on your junior kindergarten,
Yeah.
is that just one class at Pickwick and one class are those just one classes at each school?
At each
Just
school,
one?
yeah. So we have 2 sections, Brian, and we have a cap of 16. So one of them has 16 and then one has 10.
Okay.
Yep.
You don't have to go building through building, but is it fairly safe to say there's not a lot of open classroom space at any one of these buildings? So for example, like Wilson having another 4th grade or adding another 3rd grade level at Farney or something like that. The rooms are all being used for the most part.
Actually, we would have space, that is definitely a fair assessment with your 2-section buildings. So like Horace Mann, Eisenhower, but where we would have space would be Dalma and probably Farney. We do have some open classroom space if we needed to add.
So to Becky's question, if there was all of a sudden 15 3rd graders that moved onto Mary Street, you could have another 3rd grade potentially.
We would, and we really watch that. Like if we even get a sense that that's going to be an issue, we'll add that section pretty quickly. The school that we have a little space, but I'm really excited about the numbers that James has, but we have a little space at James, but they're probably some of the highest numbers James has had for a while, so. Any other questions on that? Okay, if not, I've asked Brad to kind of give the board an update on class size, or not class size, on hiring. Sorry about that, Brad.
Yeah, no problem. Yeah, so we had a hiring event 2 weeks ago tomorrow, and I think you've seen some posts about that. We had nearly 80 people show up to that event of all classifications, looking for jobs in all of our different openings. And we hired nearly 40 people that day, so we are in extremely good shape. Mr. McGrory invited me to a superintendent meeting last week in Des Moines, and I'd say we are in better shape than the majority of schools our size or regardless of size. So we're really excited to be where we're at. We still have a couple candidates that we're looking at closely for our open 4th grade position at Farney. Otherwise, we are in outstanding shape in all of our ranks and excited for another school year. We had new teachers in last week and today, so we're started already with new teacher back to in-service schedule, and just to see the level of excitement in our new teachers. Some of those new teachers have been in other districts, and just for them to share that they've never had the energy and the excitement and the treatment that they've had from our school really reflects in our turnover rate. We didn't lose a lot of our no first-year teachers last year, maybe one second-year teacher. So we do a great job of onboarding and making them feel welcome and make sure they have a solid mentor and have the support that we wrap around them. But we are in extremely good shape for starting another school year.
I think one thing we changed too with new teachers, it was kind of suggested by some of our staff, is having new teachers have access to our school supply store early on the new teacher day. And I think that did make a big difference.
Yeah.
A lot of them were really appreciative of having that option.
It was already a great day, and then to finish and surprise them, they didn't know that was coming, to finish the high school and let them get a bag and a box to go through and shop for their classroom. And you get to see their whatever anxiety they were still hanging on to, they just kind of relaxed and knew that, well, I don't have to go spend my money, many of whom they don't even have a paycheck yet because they're first-year teacher. So just it was really exciting to see that, and I know Landon and Kate did a great job setting that up, and it's at the high school library. Any questions on anything with HR? All right,
Thanks, Brad. And then just lastly, as the board knows, you're more than welcome. We have our all teachers come back on Thursday. It will be in the gymnasium. Actually, we'll start in the auditorium at the high school at 8:30, and it will go from 8:30 to 12. We'll actually go to the gym to introduce our new teachers on the Jumbotron there, so we'll have everybody walk down there. So you're more than welcome to join us if you'd like. I think we're excited and we're ready for a new school year. I think everything is coming together, but tomorrow, I appreciate Maria and Brad's, a lot of work goes into planning the TQ options. I think our options this year, we really listened to staff as far as having more options. Also options that maybe they were more focused on wanting. And so I think we've got a really good lineup and we appreciate the work you've done on that. So that's all I have, Christina.
Okay, next up is board member topics.
Just a reminder that the Ottumwa community players and the Ottumwa High School are presenting Shrek this weekend at the high school.
Thank you, Becky. Anything else? If not, we'll take a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
We have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? Otherwise, we're adjourned. Oh, wait.